Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 23. Anyani Chaita Divya Deva Devai Kritani Nandyatanani Vishnu Partyagna Mukhyani Ita Mandirani Yadarshanat Krishna Manusmaranti.
Hare Krishna. There were also many other temples of various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, established by great sages and demigods. These temples were marked with the chief emblems of the Lord, and they reminded one always of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna.
Text 24. Tatastvai Ativrajya Surastram Ritham Sovira Matsyan Kurujangalamscha Kalena Tavad Yamunam Upatya Tatradhavam Bhagavatam Dadarshaha.
Thereafter, he passed through very wealthy provinces like Surat, Sauvira, and Matsya, and through western India, known as Kurujangala. At last, he reached the bank of the Yamuna, where he happened to meet Uddhava, the great devotee of Lord Krishna.
Text 25. Savastudevan Charam Prashantaham Brihaspatihi Pragdanayam Pratitam Alingya Gadham Paranyena Bhadram Svanam Aprachad Bhagavat Rajanam.
Then, due to his great love and feeling, Vidura embraced him, Uddhava, who was a constant companion of Lord Krishna and formerly a great student of Brihaspati's. Vidura then asked him for news of the family of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead.
Text 26. Kachit Purano Purusho Svanabhya Padma Nuvrithayeha Lava Tiranu Asata Uryaha Kushalam Vidhaya Krita Kshanu Kushalam Shuragihi.
Please tell me whether the original personalities of Godhead, who incarnated themselves at the request of Brahma, who is born out of the lotus flower from the Lord, and who have increased the prosperity of the world by elevating everyone, are doing well in the house of Surasena.
Text 27. Kachit Kuranam Paramaha Shrinuno Bhamaha Sa Aste Shukhamanda Shurihi Yuveshwarnam Pitvarat Dadati Varan Vadanyo Varatapanena.
Please tell me whether the best friend of the Kurus, our brother-in-law Vasudeva, is doing well. He is very munificent. He is like a father to his sisters, and he is always pleasing to his wives.
Text 28. Kachid Varuda Dipatir Yudunam Pradyumna Ashte Sukham Anga Viraha Yam Rukmini Bhagavatu Bilebihi Aradhya Vipran Smaran Adi Sarge.
O Uddhava, please tell me, how is Pradyumna, the commander-in-chief of the Yadus, who was Cupid in a former life? Rukmini bore him as a son from Lord Krishna by the grace of Brahmanas whom she pleased.
Text 29. Kachit Sukham Satvata Vrishni Bhoja Dasharhakanam Adipaha Sa Aste Yam Abhyashina Chata Patra Nitro Nipashana Sham Pariharitaya Duhaprat.
Oh, my friend, tell me whether Ugrasena, the king of the Sattvatas, Vrishnis, Bhojas, and Dashaharas, is now doing well. He went far away from his kingdom, leaving aside all hopes of his royal throne, but Lord Krishna again installed him.
Text 30. Kachit Darehe Sumya Shutaha Sadriksha Haste Grani Ratinam Sadhu Shambhaha Asa Asutayam Jambavati Vratadhiya Devam Guhyam Yu Bhikyaya Dritogre.
O gentle one, does Samba fare well? He exactly resembles the son of the personality of Godhead. In a previous birth, he was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva, and now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna.
Text 31. Kshemam Sakachit Yudhana Aste Yaha Palguna Labdha Dhanura Tashyaha Jasadhoja Nasadhokshaja Sevya Eva Gatim Tadiyam Yatibhir Durapam.
O Uddhava, does Yuyudhana fare well? He learned the intricacies of the military art from Arjuna and attained the transcendental destination, which is very difficult to reach even for great renouncers.
32. Kachit Buddha Svasti Ama Anamivaste Svapalka Putro Bhagavat Prapanaha Yaha Krishna Padani Padankita Marga Pamsu Achestata Prema Vipana Dhairyaha.
Please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Shvapalka, is doing well. He is a faultless soul surrendered unto the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of a road which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna.
Text 33. Kachichevam Devaka Puja Putriya Vishnu Prajaya Eva Deva Matuhu Yavai Svagarvena Dadhara Devam Prayata Yajna Vitanam Artam.
As the Vedas are the reservoir of sacrificial purposes, so the daughter of King Devaka Bhoja conceived the Supreme Personality of Godhead in her womb, as did the mother of the demigods. Is she, Devaki, doing well?
Text 34. Apisvidaste Bhagavan Sukambhu Yaha Satvatam Kamaduko Nirudaha Yam Amananti Smahi Sabdya Yonim Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tatavam.
May I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all the desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu.
Text 35. Apisvidanye Chanijatma Devam Ananya Vritaya Samanuvritatahi Pradika Satyatmaja Charudishana Gadadayaha Swasti Charanti Somya.
O sober one, others such as Ridhika, Charudeshana, Gada, and the son of Satyabhama, who accept Lord Krishna as the soul of the self and thus follow his path without deviation, are they well?
Text 36. Api Svadurbhyam Vijayan Shutabhyam Dharmena Dharmaha Paripati Setum Duryodhano Tapyata Yat Sabhayam Samrajya Lakshmiya Vijayannuvritya.
Also, let me inquire whether Maharaja Yudhishthira is now maintaining the kingdom according to religious principles and with respect for the path of religion. Formerly, Duryodhana was burning with envy because Yudhishthira was being protected by the arms of Krishna and Arjuna as if they were his own arms.
Text 37. Kim va krigaishvagham atyamarshi himo hivad dirghatadmam yamun chahat yashyag grihipatam ranabhurnasehe margam kadayas charato vichitram.
Please tell me whether the unconquerable Bhima, who is like a cobra, has released his long cherished anger upon the sinners. The field of battle could not tolerate even the wonderful playing of his club when he stepped on the path.
Text 38. Kachid yashodha rathayutapanam Gandiva dhanva bharatatridashte alakshito yachavra kuta gudho maya kirato girisha tutosha.
Please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bow bears the name of Gandiva and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, is doing well. He once satisfied Lord Shiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter.
Text 39. Yamav utasvit tanayo pritayah parthe vratu pakshma bhir akshinaiva remata udhayo mrithi svarikha riktham Bharat Suparnav Iva Vajri Vakrat.
Are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well? Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pritha, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana, just as Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier.
Text 40. Aho Prithapi Triyate Ripakarte Rajarshi Varena Vinapitena Yastve Virodhirathu Vijayakye Dhanur Vidhiyaha Katubhas Chatarshaha.
Oh, my lord, is Pritha still living? She lived only for the sake of her fatherless children. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to live without King Pandu, who was the great commander and who alone conquered the four directions simply with the help of a second bow.
Text 41. Samuryanushchetamadaha padantam prihatri prateya vidurur yaha niryapito yena sruhit svapuryaha aham svaputran samanubratena.
O gentle one, I simply lament for him, Dhritarashtra, who rebelled against his brother after death. By him I was driven out of my own house, although I am his sincere well wisher, because he accepted the line of action adopted by his own sons.
Text 42. Soham hari mritya vidambanena krishonrinam chalyato viduduhu Anyupalakshyah pandavim prashada charimi pashyan gata vishmayotraha.
I am not astonished at this, having travelled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in his mortal world, are bewildering to others. But I know of his greatness by his grace, and thus I am happy in all respects.
Text 43. Nunam Ritanam Trimadotpatathanam Mahim Muhuchalyatam Chamubihi Badhat Prapanarti Rishayeshu Yupakshatatham Bhagavan Gurunam.
Despite his being the Lord and being always willing to relieve the distress of sufferers, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements carried out under the dictation of three kinds of false pride.
Text 44. Ajasya Janmota Patana Shanaya Karmani Akratum Granhanya Pumsham Nanavalyatoko Ati Deha Yogam Arogunan Utta Karma Tantram.
The appearance of the Lord is manifested for the annihilation of the upstarts. His activities are transcendental and are enacted for the understanding of all persons. Otherwise, since the Lord is transcendental to all material modes, what purpose could he serve by coming to earth?
Text 45. Tasya Pranakila Lokapanam Avasthitanam Anushashanesva Arthaya Jatasya Yadushvajasya Vartam Sakhi Kirtaya Tirtha Kirtehe. Hare Krishna.
O my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. Only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. Hare Krishna.
Hey Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. It was amazing recitation. Thank you. We have a share my screen. So with your permission, we're gonna discuss Canto 3, first chapter, verses 42 to 45 today. We will recite each verse, read Srila Prabhupada's purports, and discuss each of the verses, and then go like that. Hope that's fine. So 3:142. Soham Harir Martya Vidambanena Drisho Nirnam Chalayato Vidhatu Nanyo Padavim Prasadach Charami Pashyam Gata Vismayotra Atra. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. I am not astonished at this, having traveled all over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in this mortal world, are bewildering to others, but I know of his greatness by his grace, and thus I am happy in all respects. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although he was the brother of Dhritarashtra, Vidura was completely different. By the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encouraged them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. But Vidura wanted to achieve sincere devotional service of the Lord, and therefore became a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. He could realize this in the progress of his pilgrim's journey, and thus he was freed from all doubts. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his hearth and home, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is greater freedom than so called freedom at home. A person should not be in the renounced order of life unless he is firmly convinced of being protected by the Lord. This stage of life is explained in Bhagavad Gita as Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhi. Every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. But unless one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. I'll read that sentence again. Every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. But unless one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. This stage of dependence is called Sattva Samshuddhi, or purification of one's existence. The result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. A devotee of the Lord, who is called Narayan Para, is never afraid of anything because he is always aware of the fact that the Lord protects him in all circumstances. With this conviction, Vidura traveled alone, and he was not seen or recognized by any friend or foe. Thus, he enjoyed freedom of life without obligation to the many duties of the world. When Lord Krishna was personally present in the mortal world in his eternal blissful form of Shyamasundar, those who were not pure devotees of the Lord could not recognize him or know his glories. Avaj janati mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam. Bhagavad Gita 9:11. He is always bewildering to the non-devotees, but he is always seen by the devotees by dint of their pure devotional service to him. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Pranamami Hari Priya Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hi Krishna, everyone. I would like to seek your blessings that I can say something that is of relevance. I have no knowledge or realization. I'm trying to repeat something that Srila Prabhupada has said and the senior devotees have said. So please forgive me for any mistakes or offenses I make in doing this. And I seek your blessings that I say something useful. Hare Krishna. Um, I think if we are in third canto, first chapter, um, and towards the end of the first chapter. So what has already happened in the chapter is we know how Vidura um, how Sukadeva Goswami initially spoke about Vidura renouncing home and how Parikshit Maharaj was inquiring about Vidura Maitreya Samvad. But before that Samvad, there is clearly Vidura Uddhav Samvad. So I think after the initial inquiry, the chapter goes into what were the circumstances leading to Vidura leaving Hastinapur. Um, After that, there was Vidura's pilgrimage, where he travels to different places like Prabhas, places on banks of Saraswati, visited temples and deities of Lord Vishnu. Um, and then also he meets Uddhava at the bank of River Yamuna. And then he inquires from Uddhava about all the various people back in Hastinapur, where Yadus and Kurus, where he asks about the well-being of various um, family members and devotees, including um, all the Yaduvanshis, the sons of the Lord himself, the Pandavas, and various others. And then he laments about Dhritarashtra. And then finally, in today's verses, I think there's still a little bit of Dhritarashtra. And then finally, he requests Uddhav to hear. Sorry, Mitali Mataji, if you don't mind going on mute. Thank you. And then he inquires or requests that he would like to hear more about Krishna, which is where we have got to. And in this beautiful purport, there were a couple of things that really struck me. One is the surrender of Vidura, where Srila Prabhupada talks about um, his complete dependence on the mercy of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says, um, let me just go back to it. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his heart and home, um, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is greater freedom than so called freedom at home. And then he goes about saying, a person in renounced order of life, unless he's firmly convinced, been protected by the Lord. Um, and then every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. But when we are situated in pure state of existence, that's when we realize that we are. I mean, it is very clear. Vidura exemplifies his complete surrender to to the Lord wishes. I mean, he when Dhritarashtra asked him to leave home. Um, he did not complain, why me, why this is happening, this, that. And even now, he's asking for the well-being of his brother. And um, and he's concerned about him. And also in this particular verse, he's talking about how he is happy in all respects because he knows that um, um, like he knows his greatness by his grace and how he was happy being on the pilgrimage and being free from um, what he lived through in Hastinapur. Um, I was reflecting on the verse which exemplifies surrender in this, and we all know 1866, Sarvdharman Parityaja. But in the purport of Sarvdharman Parityaja, Srila Prabhupada quotes uh, a particular verse, which is from um, which is from Hari Bhakti Vilas, written by Sanatan Goswami. And that same verse, Srila Prabhupada didn't translate it, but that same verse appears in a few places. Maybe I'll just share it because he translates it elsewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I thought I'll get it from CC. But this same verse, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of 1866 in Bhagavad Gita, which is Sarvdharman Parityaja, where he describes what is surrender or how to surrender to the Lord. So maybe this is CC Madhya 22:10, which is the same verse. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikul yasya vajanam rakshishya titi vishvaso goptratve varanam tatha atma nikshepa karpanye sada sadvidha sharanagati. So he explains the process of Sharanagati, and he says 6 divisions of surrender are the acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service and the rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, full self surrender and humility. And he goes on to explain this further. But if you look at Srila Prabhupada's purport about Vidura, um, he says how Vidura was completely surrendered in the sense that he was firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. He was he had that faith that Krishna is there. Of course, he goes on to also say how the Lord is his guardian or master. I mean, the other thing which was quite apparent in this particular verse was how he speaks about the greatness of the Lord at the same time bewildering the others, and it is infesting. The Lord does that so many times during his pastimes in this planet. And we know how when the Lord was small and um, and when we all know the story, but I'll say in short in any case. So there was I was listening to a lecture where Prabhu gives 6 examples as to how the Lord shows ultimate greatness, but at the same time he also bewilders the person there. So the first example he gave was when the Lord eats mud. We know how his elder brother Balaram comes to Mother Yashoda and say, Krishna has eaten mud. You go and check it out, and he may get sick as a result. So you have to see to it that he doesn't do it again. And um, we know the story as to how Mother goes. Krishna says he hasn't eaten, but then Mother insists that he opens his mouth. And when the Lord opens his mouth, the mother sees multiple universes in that in his mouth, and she sees herself and a Krishna in one of the universes, seeing and looking at his mouth, and then further universes within that. And so the Lord is showing his ultimate greatness, how great he is. At the same time, he then bewilders the mother, and the mother, falls down, and then through your Maya, she forgets. We know the other incidents um, include when Lord shows his ultimate greatness is when the mother on the day of Deepavali, which is not too far, maybe a month to go, um, uh, you know, um, tries to use a whipping stick and runs after the Lord, and uh, and then tries to tie the Lord with a wooden grinding mortar, and the rope is always 2 fingers short. All the gopis bring ropes from their homes and every home, but it was still 2 fingers short. So Lord again was showing his ultimate greatness, that no one can bind him unless one surrenders, and then he decides to be bound. But at the same time, he had completely bewildered the gopis, that they didn't remember that next day that Krishna had done that. Same um, thing happens again in Brahma Vimohan Leela, right? Because Lord expand himself in multiple form of his gopa friends and the cows and calves, and and again, he bewilders Lord Brahma, who thinks that this is, um, you know, he has stolen them, and then but the Lord still has manifested them. And then a little bit later in Mahabharata, we know it'll also come in the next shloka as to how when Draupadi was being disrobed, um, the Lord shows his ultimate greatness by sending unlimited sari for her protection, and then how the Lord completely bewilders, and the Shasan um, was trying hard, but they could not even disrobe her. And then the same thing happens when um, Duryodhan tries to capture the Lord when he came in as the peace messenger of Yudhishthir Maharaj. And again, the Lord shows his partial Virat Rupa. And then finally to Arjuna, he shows his Virat Rupa on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Again, he's showing his ultimate greatness, but at the same time, he bewilders in this shloka as well. Vidur, Maharaj Vidur, who is such a great devotee of the Lord, he understands how the Lord was acting on his behalf, where um, he understood the greatness of the Lord, but Lord was helping bewilder everyone else so that Maharaj Vidur would not get recognized, and he can actually immerse himself in the pilgrimage that where he was going. If you move to the next verse, I will share my screen again. So, verse 43, Nunam Nipanam Trimdo Trim Trimdot Pathanam Mahim Muhu Chalyatam Chamubhi Vadhat Prapannarti Jihir Sayesho Api Upeksha Tagham Bhagavan Karuna. Translation: despite his being the Lord and being always willing to relieve the distress of sufferers, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements carried out under the dictation of the 3 kinds of false pride. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As declared in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord appears in the mortal world to execute his much needed mission of killing the miscreants and giving protection to the suffering faithful. In spite of that mission, Lord Krishna tolerated the insult to Draupadi by the Kurus and the injustices perpetrated against the Pandavas, as well as insults to himself. The question may be raised, why did he tolerate such injustices and insults in his presence? Why did he not chastise the Kurus immediately? And Draupadi was insulted in the assembly by Kurus by their attempt to see her naked in the presence of all. The Lord protected Draupadi by supplying an unlimited length of clothing, but he did not chastise the insulting party immediately. This silence of the Lord did not mean, however, that he excused the offenses of the Kurus. There were many things, there were many other kings on earth who had become very proud of the three kinds of possessions: wealth, education, and followers. And they were constantly agitating the earth by movements of military strength. The Lord was just waiting to get them together on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill them all at one time, just to make a shortcut in his killing mission. Godless kings or heads of state, when puffed up by advancement of material wealth, education, and increase of population, always make a show of military strength and give trouble to the innocent. When Lord Krishna was personally present, they, there were many such kings all over the world, and thus he arranged for the battle of Kurukshetra. In his manifestation of Vishwarupa, the Lord expressed his mission of killing as follows: I have willingly descended to the earth in my capacity of inexorable time in order to decrease the unwanted inexorable time in order to decrease the unwanted population. I shall finish all those who have assembled here except you, the Pandavas. This killing does not wait for you to take part in it. It is already arranged. All will be killed by me. If you want to become famous as the hero of the battlefield and thus enjoy the booty of war, then, um, Savyasachi, just become the immediate cause of this killing and thus take the credit. I've already killed all the great warriors: Bhishma, sorry, not Bhima, Bhishma, Drona, Jayadratha, Karna, and many other great generals. Do not worry. Fight the battle and be famous as a great hero. The Lord always wants to see his devotees as the hero of some episode in which he himself performs. He wanted to see his devotee and friend Arjuna as the hero of the battle of Kurukshetra, and thus he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. And that and nothing else is the explanation of his waiting. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Prabhupada very nicely explains that Krishna has his own reasons why he does things at certain times. In this one may say, "Oh, why is Krishna waiting? Why is he not, giving justice immediately? Or why sometimes karma comes immediately? Sometimes the results of karma comes later, and the prarabdha and aprarabdha karma and all that." But Krishna has a plan. In this case, Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna wanted all of the miscreants to come together and kill them in one go. He calls it the shortcut that Krishna had taken to assemble all of them together. And he also says that one of the other reasons, which we would know, but of course Krishna knows, is he knew they will be killed, the Kauravas and various other people on the battlefield, but he wanted Arjuna to get the credit. So how would we know what's in Lord's heart? Only through devotees, but Lord knows what he wants. But we need to just have patience and have faith in him. I think the other thing which Srila Prabhupada, which really struck me in this verse, which was very interesting, is there were many other kings on earth who had become very proud of three kinds of possessions: wealth, education, and followers. Dhan, Shiksha, and Anuyayi. And this is very telling, right? Like it is said that in Satyuga, the Devatas and the Danavas, or the Devatas and the Rakshasas, they lived on different planets. In Treta Yuga, which is Lord Ram's time, they lived in different countries within the same planet. One in Lanka, one in Ayodhya, and or you can say Bharat. And then during time of Kauravas, they lived in the same family, and during Kali Yuga, which is now, they live in the same person. And it's fascinating how um, we can become very proud. I can become very proud of these three things: wealth, education, and followers. Dhan, shiksha, and anuyayi. It's so easy, isn't it? Like, I mean, we can all become very proud, even in Krishna consciousness, right? Like once we get praise and we get a lot of followers, or we become very um, educated with this brilliant knowledge that Srila Prabhupada has made available, we can become proud. And he says, um, um, yeah, he came on the earth um, to kill those who had become proud of these three kind of possessions. It's very sobering, isn't it? Like I feel to myself, like we need to be very careful that Krishna didn't. He killed those kings who became very proud, and we can easily become proud of these things ourselves. So how do we, kill those vices in our own selves? And of course, Krishna gives the perfect way forward, that we need to dovetail our wealth, our knowledge, our even followers in true Krishna consciousness, and apply whatever possessions we have in the service of Krishna to please the Lord and the devotees. Um, it is 8:32 and we have two more verses to do, so I am going to move us on. So if we move to the next verse, which is 3:144. Ajasya janmo pathana shanaya karma karmani akartur grihanaya pumsham nanva anyatha ko arhati deha yogam paro gunanam utakarma tantram. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The appearance of the Lord is manifested for the annihilation of upstarts. His activities are transcendental and are enacted for the understanding of all persons. Otherwise, since the Lord is transcendental to all material modes, what purpose could he serve by coming to earth? Put by Srila Prabhupada. Ishvara Param Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaran Karan. We know Brahma Samhita 5.1, where Srila Prabhupada has beautifully explained how he is the Supreme Lord. The form of the Lord is eternal, blissful, and all satisfying. His so-called birth is there for an appearance only, like the birth of the sun on the horizon. His birth does not, like that of the living entities, take place under the influence of material nature and the bondage of the reactions of past deeds. His works and activities are independent pastimes and are not subject to the reactions of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita 4:14, it is said, Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spraha, iti mam yo abhijanati, karma bhir nasa badhyate. The law of karma enacted by the Supreme Lord for the living entities cannot be applicable to him, nor has the Lord any desire to improve himself by activities like those of ordinary living beings. Ordinary living beings work for the improvement of their conditional lives. But the Lord is already full of all opulence, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Why should he desire improvement? No one can excel him in any opulence, and therefore the desire for improvement is absolutely useless for him. One should always discriminate between the activities of the Lord and those of ordinary living beings. Thus, one may come to the right conclusion regarding the Lord's transcendental position. One who can come to the conclusion of the Lord's transcendence can become a devotee of the Lord and can at once be free from all reactions of past deeds. This is very important. One who can come to the conclusion of the Lord's transcendence can become a devotee of the Lord and can at once be free from all reactions of past deeds. We need to come to the conclusion of Lord's transcendence over and above everyone else and the three modes of material nature. It is said, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhaktim bhajam. The Lord minimizes or nullifies the reactionary influence of the devotee's past deeds. Brahma Samhita 5.54. So the Lord minimizes or nullifies the reactionary influence of devotees' past deeds. The activities of the Lord are to be accepted and relished by all living entities. His activities are to attract the ordinary man towards the Lord. The Lord always acts in favor of the devotees, and therefore, ordinary men who are fruitive actors or seekers of salvation may be attracted to the Lord when He acts as the protector of the devotees. The fruitive actors can attract their goal by devotional service, and the salvationists can also attain their goal in life by devotional service to the Lord. The devotees who do not want the fruitive results of their work, nor do they want any kind of salvation. They relish the glorious superhuman activities of the Lord, such as lifting Govardhan hill and his killing of demon Putana in infancy. His activities are enacted to attract all kind of men, karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas. Because he is transcendental to all laws of karma, there is no possibility of his accepting a form of Maya, as it is forced on the ordinary living entities who are bound by the actions and reactions of their own deeds. The secondary purpose of his appearance is to annihilate the upstart asuras and to stop the nonsense of the atheistic propaganda by less intelligent persons. By the Lord's causeless mercy, the asuras are killed personally by the personality of Godhead to get salvation. The meaningful appearance of the Lord is always distinct from the ordinary birth. Even the pure devotees have no connection with the material body, and certainly the Lord, who appears as He is in His Satchidananda form, is not limited by the material form. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Such a beautiful purport. We know that. It's amazing. There's a few things at least which stuck with me in this purport. One is how do we understand that like we are always looking for improvement, and Srila Prabhupada says here, so we have to act. So whether it is in terms of our opulence, or we need to work hard to get the wealth, we need to, or to work to get wealth, we need to go to the gym to get our strength, or whatever exercise we need to do things to get the fame we need, even for beauty, need to decorate ourselves, we need to study to get knowledge, and we need to even do the act of renunciation to renounce. But the Lord, there is nothing needed, because He is the most of all. That's the definition of the Lord, of Bhagavan, that He has got these six opulences in full. So he's beyond, He's transcendental to any of these activities or the three modes of material nature that Srila Prabhupada has so beautifully described. I think then Prabhupada also describes the two reasons why He appears here. And, Prayatranai. sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, and that's what he has explained, that two big reasons is he wants to attract the attention of all the living entities on this planet through his, um, I can say, mesmerizing or the transcendental activities. And I mean, Jam Karam Chame Divyam, everything is Divyam, beautiful or divine, of our Lord, whether it is his birth or activities, and all his activities are so divine that it attracts, um, you know, even like mundane people like me to be attracted by the Lord. And it's his name itself is Krishna, which means all attractive, isn't it? And then the second reason he comes is Vinashaya Chadushkritam. So he wants to get rid of both the asuras as well as the atheistic propaganda and reestablish religion, which is amazing. I would move us on to the last verse to discuss today. Share my screen again. So 3145. Tasya prapannakhila lokapanana panam avasthitanam anusashanesva अर्थाय जातस्य यदुष्व अजस्य vartam sakhe kirtaya tirthakirte. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord. Vidura from his heart is saying, please chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. So Lord doesn't take birth; he appears out of his causeless mercy. Their only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus, purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are innumerable rulers all over the universe in different varieties of planets. The sun god in the sun planet, the moon god in the moon planet, Indra in the heavenly planet, Vayu, Varuna, and those in the Brahmaloka planet, where Lord Brahma is living. All the obedient servants, all are obedient servants of the Lord. Whenever there is any trouble in the administration of innumerable planets in different universes, the rulers pray for an appearance and the Lord appears. The Bhagavatam 1:3:28 has already confirmed this in the following verse. Etescham sakala pumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam mridyanti yuge yuge. In every millennium, whenever there is any trouble for the obedient rulers, the Lord appears. He also appears for the sake of his pure unalloyed devotees. The surrendered rulers and the pure devotees are always strictly under the control of the Lord, and they are never disobedient to the desires of the Lord. The Lord is therefore always attractive to them. The purpose of the pilgrimage is to remember the Lord constantly, and therefore the Lord is known as Tirthakirti. The purpose of going to a place of pilgrimage is to get the chance to glorify the Lord. Even today, although times have changed, there are still pilgrimage sites in India. For example, in Mathura and Vrindavan, where we had a chance to stay, people are always awake from early in the morning at 4 a.m. up until night time and are constantly engaged some way or other in chanting the holy glories of the Lord. The beauty of such a pilgrimage site is that automatically one remembers the holy glories of the Lord. His name, fame, quality, form, pastimes, and entourage are all identical to the Lord, and therefore chanting the glories of the Lord invokes the personal presence of the Lord. Anytime or anywhere pure devotees meet and chant the glories of the Lord is present without any doubt. It is said by the Lord himself that he always stays where his pure devotees chant his glories. And the sense. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Questions by Vidura, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now he comes to the point, right? He asks about everyone. He laments about Dhritarashtra. He then goes into why the Lord has appeared, and then he comes to the direct point where he leaves it. Please glorify the Lord. I want to hear about the glories of the Lord. And um, um, he he is revealing, Vidur Maharaj is revealing his heart that I want to hear about the Lord. I was listening to a class by Bhut Bhavna Prabhu in Soho Street some time back, and Bhut Bhavna Prabhu said that going to a dham, say Vrindavan Dham, um, is not complete without hearing about Krishna Katha and associating with the devotees. And it's so true. I mean, Srila Prabhupada explains it in no uncertain terms. I mean, so many times I remember I'm guilty of that. You go to Vrindavan, you're in a rush, you take darshan of maybe Krishna Balram and Radha Shyam Sundar, Gaunata Srila Prabhupada, and then go to the six Goswami temples and come quickly. But the visit is never satisfying without, sitting down, listening to kathas in Balram Hall, in the, main temple hall, and same in all the tirths, all the dhams that you would visit. And it's amazing the quality um, or the realizations, or at least the absorption that one can get in a place like it. I mean, I'm sure you experienced the same when you enter Dham. I mean, even our temple, Bhaktivedanta Manas or street, they are dhams in their own right. As soon as we enter, we realize that there's a difference. And people who haven't been to the temple before, they say the same, right? This place is different. And you can feel it. Even when you go to Vrindavan or Jagannath Puri or Mayapur, you just enter the place and it feels different. But then it's not enough if we had to sit down and hear the holy katha of the Lord, which is so important. And the other thing is, it's in no uncertain terms. He explains like Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And what do we say about that? I mean, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and Srila Prabhupada has said that so many times. And the famous story of Saraswati, when lots of people were coming, um, and there were reporters, and Srila Prabhupada was making an example, and he asked Saraswati, who was 4-year-old child, to say, who is Krishna? And she said, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada said, that is perfect knowledge, and that's all we need to know. Only if that can sink into our heart and we realize that he is the soul. He's the proprietor of everything, he's controller of everything, he's our protector, going back to the six processes of surrender. Maybe we can quickly read those 6 things again. I'm not saying that for you, but just to remind myself, they're beautiful 6 processes for surrender into the Lord. And I would highly encourage everyone to go have a look. I mean, it is there in Sarvdharman Paritaja purport, but if you want, Prabhupada doesn't write the translation there, but if you just search for that in Vedabase, you'll find this. We can read this purport again and finish on that. One who is fully surrendered is qualified with the 6 following characteristics. The devotee has to accept everything that is favorable for the rendering of transcendental loving service to the Lord. So we need to accept everything favorable for rendering service to the Lord. Anukulena. Yeah. He must reject everything unfavorable to the Lord's service. This is called renunciation. So renunciation is not leaving our work. Renunciation is anything which is unfavorable. We need to leave it. A devotee, third thing, devotee must be firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. And that's very difficult to get that faith, but faith comes from other people who have faith if we associate with them. No one else can actually give one protection. And being firmly convinced of this is called faith. This kind of faith is different from the faith of an impersonalist who want to merge into Brahman effulgence in order to benefit by cessation of repeated birth and death. A devotee wants to remain always in the Lord's service. In this way, Krishna is merciful to his devotee and give him all protection from the dangers found in the path of devotional service. Fourth point, the devotee should accept Krishna as his supreme maintainer and master, which is very difficult, right? We try to. It's not always easy to remember that Krishna is the supreme maintainer and master, because we put ourselves in the center. He should not think that he's being protected by demigod. He should depend only on Krishna, considering him the only protector. Devotee must be firmly convinced that within the three worlds he has no protector or maintainer other than Krishna. Self-surrender means remembering that one's activities and desires are not independent. The devotee is completely dependent on Krishna, and he acts and thinks as Krishna desires. And finally, the sixth one, devotee is meek and humble. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, comments, I'm so sorry I've gone over time slightly. Please forgive me. Any questions, comments, or we can close it there. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu devacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice
Srila
class.
Prabhupada ki
Thank
jai.
you, Prabhuji, for the nice
Prabhupada ki
class.
jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Lovely.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.